Chris Ano here, your comrade in arms for a free and independent Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. Today is September the 4th. September the 4th in the year of our Lord, 2023. We had come forward now for address this school situation a little bit because we understand schools were supposed to resume in Ambazonia this Monday, September the 4th. We don't see incidences where teachers they be killed, students they be killed on this opening day. On this opening day of school resumption for the academic year 2023-2024. I want to emphasize, we make them a law. We make them a law, and we will enforce that law by all means available to us. We go enforce that law by all means available to us. The law on the banning of all government La République du Cameroun operated schools in Ambazonia. And so, if you be teacher for any La République du Cameroun government operated school in Ambazonia, the fact say you will be able to go for classroom or for go for school today. It no means in the coming days, you will still be able to go. And so I send this warning to every teacher of a La République du Cameroun operated government school. We don't see the intimidation. We don't see the intimidation where the colonial officials, that they give the teachers to show up, and they are saying that if teachers did not show up, their salaries it will be suspended or cut off. Now, I know teachers, some teachers under the threat under this intimidation go on for go show their faces in school. But the parents where he send he picking for school, we don't want one. We don't want one. If we don't know one thing will be happen for Kumba, for happen for one children them. We know they spare no government school. Make francophones they send their children them for there, not Ambazonians. We wanna let francophones make them send their children to those government schools. So that if they meet up anything for there, they will get themselves for blame, not anybody. So if any government operated La République school it be open today, it thinks say tomorrow it go open, it thinks say 1 month after it go open, we will shut them down. Parents, take your children away from any of those schools. And I want to remind you, please keep your child for school where it be to go last year, where no be La République operated school. La République no go have any control in our territory. La République no go get any control for our territory. We don't see killings for Kumba this morning. We see killings of teachers in Bello. And we don't hear shooting in Libya last I think 2 days ago in Menji. 2 days ago. We the one every parent. Keep your picking at a big one. When I keep picking out of La République du Cameroun operated so-called government school. Those schools, they will not operate in Ambazonia. Restoration fighters, they be in charge. Restoration fighters, they be in charge. They will shut down those schools until every one of them, and I mean it's every single one of them, is closed down. If you no one waste the school year for your Pekin, no venture for put that Pekin in any lot of play to Cameroon operated school. The teacher, they one go run for empty classroom because they fear their salary. Not a big deal. But Pekin where is sure up for day. If you show up for the meet up your own, again, now ye know. This one to our restoration fighters. But when I know say, when I get control over that territory and particularly over this education thing, La Republic du Cameroon, it try for go tell the international community, tell the United Nations say, no mercy, it don't return for Ambazonia. So they all school where they be closed, they don't be open. We get for deny them that message. We get for deny them that message. So, restoration fighters, no government school for your area. No government school. We stand with one. We support one for shut down anything called government school when a lot of people operate them. Our communities and private schools, they should go on as usual. But however, we also want the restoration fighters, may them monitor the secondary school, especially the mission schools. Any school where they charge school fee above 300,000. Again, any mission school where they charge above 300,000 or above where they know but they charge them before the war start. Make that information be gathered and sent to us. And parents, we want make when I send us information for the names of the schools, the private school where they charge more than where they be charge before this war start. We want for gather their names and know what we can do. At this time where we shut down government schools, government La Republique du Cameroon schools, private schools, they get more than enough students. I mean, if anybody open private school now, it's a big business because they get immediate students. But we don't understand why any private school go to one for charge double weight where they be the charge when situation be there right, it be there normal. They get opportunity for admit more than enough students. They not fit go on top of that. They double charge. They double charge the parents who are undergoing hardship and suffering during this war. So please, we need information for schools where they charge more than where they be so for charge if things they will be normal. We need their name, the names of those schools, the names of their principals if possible, and if possible the contact number. Gather that information you send to us. We will reach out to those schools, warn them. If they not change, if they not return the money, then we will shut them down for the whole year. We will shut them down for the whole year. Parents should not be exploited. This war, no matter anybody cause them. They will bring the war upon us, and so some people should not see it as an opportunity to exploit others. Any school where they charge more than where they charge before the war start, we want to know. They be free for admit as many children as they want, but they should not also do that and double charge the students. So please, restoration fighters, look around you. Anything called government high school, government secondary school, government teachers, so blah, 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 and all that nonsense. Please, shut them down. That is our policy. Private schools, keep it on. Admit as many students as you can, but don't double charge the parents. All right. This is the case. Samuel Ikome Sako versus Ambazonia. That is the subject of the message I bring to you today. Again, Samuel Ikome Sako versus Ambazonia. Today is Saturday, August of Mr. Samuel Ikome Sako from his position at the helm of the interim government in early 2022. Despite being stripped of powers, Sako, unwilling to relinquish his hold, had hastily orchestrated or put together a meeting under false pretenses, purportedly involving the board of directors of Ambazonia Foundation and the Southern Cameroons Foundation. It is important here to note that these foundations are responsible for managing donations gathered for the aid of refugees on Ground 1 and Ground 2 and other humanitarian causes. Aware that these foundations held substantial amounts of money, Sako seemingly believed that if you were to depart, he would take these two entities along with him. The objective of this meeting he called, composed solely of directors who aligned with him. And the mission, again, the objective was twofold. Firstly, to dismiss the president of the board, along with the treasurer and secretary, whom Sako perceived as unsupportive and uncooperative. Secondly, the meeting Sako called aimed to appoint a new board of directors without the presence or consent of the dismissed officials. Now note the term appoint. It will be clarified later. Under the cover of darkness, Sako and collaborators swiftly devised new articles of incorporation for the two foundations and expedited their submission to the Maryland Secretary of State office where the entities were registered. This hasty action was undertaken to transfer ownership of the foundations to Sako. Their actions unfolded seamlessly, unbeknownst to the interim government, the legitimate custodians of the foundations. Having successfully filed the new articles of incorporation, transferring ownership of Ambazonia Foundation and Southern Cameroons Foundation ownership and control to themselves, Sako and his accomplices hastened to the banks. There, they presented their fabricated board as the newly appointed directors in charge of the foundation's accounts. Upon encountering this new board, the banks removed the names of the legitimate officers from the interim government and replaced them with Sako's conniving appointees. However, as they departed from the banks, smirking and deriding Ambazonia, fortune failed to favor their treachery. Luck failed to smile on them. It did not take long for the interim government to receive notification that they no longer had access to their accounts, as the board of directors had been altered. Without delay, the interim government petitioned the Maryland Secretary of State and reclaimed ownership of the foundations. And so, consequently, the bank reinstated the interim government access to the accounts with all the funds intact. Emboldened by this development and hopeful of recovering the foundations, the bank accounts and the funds within them, Sako took to court and sued 6 members of the interim government, including yours truly, Chris Anu, who legitimately manage the foundations. Their plea to the court was to compel the six to return the funds to them. During the hearing, the case revolved around the legitimacy of the meeting called by Sako Ekome to change the board of the Ambazonia Foundation and the Southern Cameroons Foundation. He had been impeached, removed from office. I beg your pardon. Again, the court found that he had no standing to have called the meeting because he had been impeached and removed from office. This crucial issue of impeachment and removal undermines Sako's authority to call a meeting and effect changes within the two foundations. The judge deemed that an individual who had been impeached could not exercise the powers and responsibilities that came with their former position. Consequently, Sako lacked the legal standing to convene a meeting and alter the board composition. Their main witness, Victorine Yangne, who found the authority of Sako under scrutiny, suggested at a point that she was the one who called the meeting. However, she was unable to explain or prove to the court what authority she used in calling the meeting, considering that the bylaws of the foundations are very clear as per who can call a meeting. The bylaws state that only the president of the board, the secretary, the treasurer, or two board members could call for an extraordinary meeting. Neither Sako nor Victorine Yangne were board members, secretaries, or board presidents. Victorine admitted in court that she was only the financial secretary. The admission disqualified her and made their meeting illegal. It apparently got so desperate in court to the extent that Victorine lied to the court when she testified that she was the one who called the meeting. The meeting's Zoom evidence submitted in court from Ambazonia's side proved that it was actually Ekome Sako who called the meeting. But where they failed even woefully wasn't just about who did or did not call the meeting. The second challenge they faced was convincing the judge that they met the conditions of the bylaws when they called the meeting. Ambazonia's lawyer, quoting from the bylaws, reminded the Sako side of a section in the bylaws that states that before such a meeting can hold, all board members must be given at least 2 days' notice. Asked when the meeting was held from when the announcement for it was made, Sako's team said all happened on the same day. The announcement and the meeting all took place on the same day, contrary to the provisions in the bylaws. The judge perceived that the rush in calling the meeting on the same day and having it on the same day was not only illegal but suspicious, and it led him to believing that the Sakos acted in bad faith. The court considered the circumstances surrounding the meeting called by Sako Ekome, emphasizing that it appeared to be hastily organized and deliberately concealed from other board members. This raised concerns about transparency and due process. By rushing the meeting without proper notification and excluding relevant board members, Sako's team exhibited a lack of adherence to established protocols. Such actions undermine the credibility of the meeting and cast doubt on the legitimacy of any decisions taken therein. Another significant factor that informed the judge's ruling in favor of Ambazonia was the documentary evidence submitted in court from the Maryland Secretary of State's office. These documents indicated that Ambazonia Foundation is still registered under the People's Interim Government as the rightful owners. This legal documentation carries substantial weight in the court's assessment and ruling, as it demonstrated that the state recognized this interim government's authority over the two foundations. It further reinforced the notion that Sarko's attempts to unilaterally change the board structure lacked legal merit. The judge also took into account the Internal Revenue Service, that is the IRS, dealings with the contenders. Ambazonia's lawyer told the court that the IRS recognizes only the People's Interim Government as the legitimate representatives of the foundations. The People's Interim Government is the body, he said, that the IRS has been working with in terms of tax filing and auditing. Sarko's people, asked by the judge, were not able to show any proof that they have filed any taxes with the IRS or had any dealings at all with it. This disclosure linking the IRS carried significant weight, as it indicated that the IRS engages in official business or transactions only with the People's Interim Government, further bolstering its claim of authority over the two foundations. Lastly, the court highlighted Sarko's team's failure to adhere to the bylaws of Ambazonia Foundation and the Southern Cameroons Foundation. By disregarding the established rules and procedures governing the organization, Sarko and Co. undermined the integrity of their actions. The judge deemed it imperative for any group seeking legitimacy within an organization to follow the established bylaws, which act as a guiding framework for decision-making. Taking all of this into consideration, the hearing, initially scheduled for 2 days, was brought to an end after all the witnesses had testified and closing statements made by lawyers from both sides. And based on the testimonies, the judge told the plaintiff's lawyer, that is Sarko's lawyer, that he wasn't able to prove the merit of his case and so passed judgment in favor of the defendants, the People's Interim Government. That's what happened in court. Now let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. I have no reason to celebrate or salivate over this victory, as important as it may be. This victory isn't the victory we have been yearning or fighting for. It does not. Again, it does not give us Ambazonia, though it elevates institutions and structures over individual greed and ambition. I had no doubt that social media wasn't going to be the court or the judge. Surrogates were not going to be the witnesses either. I knew for sure that when the day of judgment comes, Ambazonia was going to prevail. And prevail it did. I see lots of jubilation and excitement out there for the outcome of this case, which is all okay. But this is money. This is money, fellow Ambazonians, that should have gone to ground zero to take care of our suffering and struggling people. Sarko got it wasted in the hands of lawyers by dragging us into this. We will never be able to recover the money spent in the hands of these lawyers in a frivolous lawsuit. This court case should never have come up in the first place. We struggle a lot to raise money for Ground Zero, and here we are squandering thousands in court over money that belonged to the Ambazonia people. thanks to a greedy scammer who conned all of us and got his way to the hem of this interim government and struggle. I hope this never again repeat. I hope we never again entertain any other scammer or a con man or con woman in the leadership of this struggle. If anything should teach all of us a lesson from this court case, it is that structures matter, institutions matter, and their respect very important. Structures and laws are meant to be respected. When it became clear in court that Sako and team had been removed and that they were acting in defiance of his removal, it made a lot of sense to the judge about the underlying motive behind the scheme to hijack the two foundations and the rush to cook the books of the foundations. It was meant to be a grab. Sako's actions were meant to be a grab. But it failed. Let me tell all of you today, Chris Ano, I am committed to strengthening the institutions and structures of the interim government. Never again should any one person or group of persons want to usurp the authority of the interim government. Those who try will be defeated.
Fellow Ambazonians, good morning. Today is Thursday, September the 7th, 2023. Fellow comrades, oftentimes we allow ourselves to be distracted by things that ought not to be our concern, or things that really have little to do with the struggle for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. One of these has recently been this so-called case against one of ours, Eric Tato. We all know who Eric Tato is, and we understand that he is an Ambazonian, and that he's having some issues with the American judicial system. But we must understand that whatever problems that Eric Tato is having with the American judicial system have nothing to do with the struggle for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. I want this to be very clear, that whatever problems Eric Tato is having has nothing to do with the struggle for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. I may not agree with Eric Tato in everything he does or has done, but it will be foolhardy for me or anyone else, a genuine Ambazonian out there, to celebrate or gloat over the fall or the challenges that Eric Tato is having at this point in time. As flawed as he may be, he is still an Ambazonian, and we still consider him a brother. And we must be very careful how we talk about things that happen to us, even in our private lives, because the enemy is always very eager to take advantage of things that are so unrelated to our struggle, and to link it to our struggle with the sole purpose of painting us black and using it to demoralize our citizens and those who may not have a strong mind or who may not be well informed, and creating a false narrative out there that whatever problems these comrades are having in their personal lives are because of their relation or activism in the struggle for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons, which is, of course, absolutely false. It is absolutely false. So we must be careful, therefore, not to allow ourselves to provide more information or ammunition to feed this negative narrative that is coming from the enemy, which we may think is against one of ours. However, his character may be questionable. We must not be seen to participate in pushing that narrative or providing information that will help the enemy in pushing that narrative. We must not fall for it, fellow comrades. We must not allow ourselves to fall for such manipulations. We must not also be seen to celebrate the fall of one of ours, even as flawed as he or she may be. Let us therefore resist the temptation to share anything that is meant to portray him in a negative light at this given time. We will not be doing ourselves any favor. We will be doing a great service to the enemy, unknowingly or knowingly, maybe, but we will be doing ourselves a great disservice. And the same goes to any other person, any other comrade who may find himself or herself in trouble, be it related to the struggle or not. It should not be our responsibility to push or portray that person in a negative light. Any Ambazonian who finds himself or herself in trouble for whatever reason, we must allow the system that is supposed to handle such situations to do its job. For example, in the case of Eric Tato, we must allow the American judicial system to play its role. Let us leave it to that system to do what it is meant to do. We must not participate in it because we first of all may think that we have the facts of the case, but we definitely do not know the whole story. First of all, it is a distraction from what ought to be our focus. And I'm encouraging those who have been sharing information left and right to henceforth, please desist. Let us focus on what will add value to our struggle. That is not one of those things that will add any value to our struggle. And I'm just pleading with you that we get back to focus, give more support to our ARFs on the ground, encourage our citizens on the ground to be strong and to be resilient, making sure that they resist the manipulations and the violence of the enemy. It should not be our role to go out there trying to provide material that can be used by the enemy against our struggle. It does not help us in any way. Eric Tato is someone with some questionable character traits, but it will not help us in any way to go commenting on that at this time. So I thank you for understanding, and let's focus on what is important at this time. Thanks, and please, if you can share this so others may also take a cue from this message and get back to focus. Do what is beneficial for the liberation of our struggle. Thank you.